Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Neil Rose, and today we're going to be playing some Sonic Robo 2 Karts. Specifically, we're going to be doing a all-level speedrun. So that's basically every single level you see here in the base game. And I think it's about 60 maps? Yeah, it's like 60 maps, if I remember correctly. So without any kind of real delay, we'll just get straight into it. But before we start, there is going to be a splits timer for the run. It's like a built-in one for like a script. It's going to show up on the bottom right of the screen, and as you can see here, there's some space here for a controller input. So pretty useful stuff if you want to mimic my movements and whatnot and just get an idea of what I'm doing. So yeah, we're just going to hop straight into it. There's that splits thing I was talking about. And it's just going to keep track of when I finish track. And that's all it's really going to be doing. Generally, this run altogether, it's going to take about 2 hours to complete on average. Most people will be finishing the run around 2 hours during a completed, you know, a full map rotation. But if you're really good, you can probably get this done like around 1 hour and like 1 hour, like maybe 45 to around 50 if you're really good. And by really good, I just mean pretty consistent. Alright, that being said, some other things to note is that I'm going to be playing this on hard speed, which is the hardest speed in the game, as is the name. It's the fastest speed in the game, and generally considered the standard when it comes to this game, especially in the online space, multiplayer space. But yeah, that's about it. We already finished the first map here, as you can see. The general format of these maps is going to be 3 laps, but there are going to be some unique cases where it's going to be 2 laps or even 1 lap. And we'll get to those when we get to those. I'll point those out. So yeah, the general goal of what you want to do most of the time is, well, of course, you want to get yourself a rocket start, or like a perfect start, I guess you can call it. And by doing that, or how to do that rather, you have to press the acceleration button right as the countdown hits 1. And if you time it just right, then you'll be rewarded with the very powerful rocket start. Really useful, especially in the vanilla settings of this game, where it actually grants you off-road immunity for a brief amount of time. Basically, throughout the duration of the boost, you'll be able to just take off-road for free. That's pretty useful. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. I'm most likely not going to be able to explain everything at once, and I might even still miss things, but I'll just explain things as I go. So do forgive me if I haven't mentioned something specific, or if you have like a question, just feel free to leave a comment or something. I'm sure either I or someone else will answer for you. But for now, we do have these boost panels, which have been introduced in the first stage. They do give you basically a boost, just much like the sneakers I'm using. And the sneakers are basically just like, you know, like mushrooms in Mario Kart, for example. And because I'm doing this marathon of levels in the way I am, the only item boxes that will be appearing are the sneakers themselves, specifically just one sneaker, and that's just because I'm playing single player by myself. You can set other items to appear, but for the purposes of the speedrun, it's not gonna happen. Alrighty. So we got Norden District here. Pretty cool map. It's got some Toho music. Very nice. There's actually a park over there to my left, the great grass area here. It's actually a different shortcut, but it doesn't actually open up without the help of a second player. So the only way you're actually going to get access to that section there is if you have a second player with you, or if you hit the spot where it triggers. But by that point, you've already passed the shortcut, and you know it's basically useless. I believe the trigger spot is somewhere a little bit past the whole park itself. So the gate there on my left by the fire hydrant here will actually open up once first place hits a certain point of the map, which will allow the other players to catch up. Otherwise you can just take this construction cut over here, and this one's pretty powerful as well. But if you do get that park shortcut, it actually is a lot faster than the construction cut. See, if I were to get the perfect start there, I'd be able to cross the off-road at the start of the race here. I'll show you what I mean once I reach the next lap. Should have not went for that, so that's okay. So right over here, if I were to get the perfect boost, I can just take this for free as the race starts, for example. And that would be one of the very useful applications for getting the perfect start boost. And one reason you'd want to, you know, try to go for one to begin with. It's also just nice to have a head start in these kinds of racing games. You have a chance to break away from the pack and maintain the lead. Very nice. This is Daytona. It's a pretty useful cut there. There's a couple of useful, really good cuts in this map that you can take here as well. There's another really good one if I can get it. It's probably the toughest one to go for. Again, if you're having trouble getting it, just feel free to look at those inputs and whatnot. It's definitely a more riskier cut to go for. I wouldn't recommend beginners to go for it. Because if you mess up, you'll most likely take some airtime, or you'll just bonk on one of the trees and be stuck in the off-road. There you go. Also, I've not mentioned it yet, but there are 3 stages of the mini turbos that I'm doing here. There's the blue, there's the red, or the orange, whatever you want to call it. And then there is the rainbow. The rainbow being the most powerful version that you can obtain. Oh, and that's what happens when you mess it up. It's pretty bad. That's what I mean by it being the more trickier shortcut to go for. Here's the rainbow, by the way. It lasts for about 5 seconds, I believe. Pretty useful. Alright. The Egg Zeppelin. Another perfect start boost, very nice. This map is another relatively simple map. Not a whole lot going on. Pretty easy to keep yourself on the road. You will be seeing me make use of a technique called drift storing. Drift storing is a pretty essential fundamental thing you gotta learn when you decide to play this game online. Just in general, it's a pretty useful mechanic. Essentially what you're doing is you're just holding on to a mini turbo boost and you're maintaining that charge for the duration of your airtime. This is good because you can recover from turns like this quite fast, even after landing. Notice the big boost in speed I got there for a moment. That's with the help of the boost, the red mini turbo I was storing there after the jump. So I'd say it's just something you learn over time, but once you get it down, it's, you know, becomes a pretty much like a force of habit for any player to go for once they see a jump or a ramp or any kind. The reason it's so good though is because when you go off jumps like that, sure you gain a lot of speed, but you decelerate extremely fast back to like a slower top speed. So this kind of helps you get back up to speed a lot faster, while giving you a little bit of control over where you land and such. So we got Sonic Speedway here. Another very similar map to Green Hills. Surprised this is not the first map in the game, considering how basic this one is too. But I guess the first map kind of introduces like slopes and whatnot. I don't know, either or could have been pretty good, you know, first map of the game. I think this one fits a little bit better as a first map, but that's just a personal thing. It's a personal preference here. Regardless, it's still nice, pretty easy stroll for the map. It's got some nice details and whatnot. Shortcuts are pretty generous. It's mostly just a bunch of off-road. It's just all about solid driving. A whole bunch of chow on the right there too, in the audience. So yeah, in most situations, the best way to maintain your speed is to just literally go straight. If you're not doing anything, you better be going straight. Otherwise, you're losing time, you're losing speed. Drifting actually causes you to slow down quite a bit. So that's why it's important whenever you commit to a drift that you try to get out of the spark. Otherwise, you'll just be losing all that time. Whether it be a blue or red or even a rainbow. But that's one of the reasons why going for like a rainbow would be might not be the most, you know, practical thing, since rainbows take the longest to charge and they're generally not worth the time. At least here in like vanilla settings, for example. There are situations where you can apply rainbows in a lot of spots, but for the most part, you're not really going to be seeing rainbows or going for rainbows. The most common turbo you're going to go for is the red mini turbo, or the stage 2 mini turbo. And that's more than enough in most situations. The blue mini turbo is more so for auto correction, just help you like get off a turn quicker, kind of just steer you in the right direction. But yeah, if you have the time, just go for the red. Because the blue doesn't really give you too much speed to begin with. Here's an example of the drift story here. You'll be seeing that a lot during this run. Alright, so we got Misty Maze. I'm going to perform a mechanic here where you can essentially get an item really quickly by holding down the item button or pressing it rapidly. And what that does for you is it gives you the item a lot quicker, but it also increases the chance for the item to be of a worse odds. What I mean by that is you're going to most likely get an item that is not as useful to you if you were to just simply wait for the item roulette to finish up there at the top left. But since we're in a state where we literally cannot get any other item but Sneaker, it doesn't matter, you can just smash the item up. It's pretty useful in certain situations anyways, on these maps. And you'll see me use it a few times during the run. This also might be like our first cutscene kind of jump there. That water section there kind of like sucks you into the middle pretty consistently. I'm gonna go for this cut again. This cut is actually a little tricky when it comes to the exit, so I'd recommend giving it a few practice goes. Try to get the timing down. Drift is your friend when it comes to that shortcut. Just watch out for these hazards, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so this is our first instance of a two-lapper map. Grand Metropolis from Sonic Heroes, I believe. Yeah, Sonic Heroes. A lot of the maps you're going to see in this game are based around Sonic games. For obvious reasons, this is a Sonic game. It's a fan-made Sonic game, made in I don't remember what version of it, but it's one of the Doom engines. I'm sure somebody knows. It's actually quite cool that this game was made in something like this. So surprised when I found out. But the original parent game, Sonic Robo 2, was also made in that same engine, so it makes sense. That's also another fantastic Sonic fan-made game. I'd recommend people try that one. Definitely one of my favorites. Normally this game actually starts you off with like sprites and whatnot, and it still has the sprites. I'm just using 3D models at the moment, so if you get access to them, you can switch between both the 3D models and the sprites. Assuming the characters even have 3D models. It's usually by character basis. But the base roster at least has fully 3D models here, like Amy here. There's about 30 base roster characters in this game. If we count bonus characters with the original 5. Each of those characters actually have their own unique stat. And there's quite a bit of stats in this game. There's a stat block for basically every single speed, 1 up to 9. So there's a 1, 9. What I mean by this is like it's like a speed thing. So 1 speed and like 1 weight, and you know, those are like the only 2 like things you have to remember when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, there's all kinds of combinations. There's 3, 4s, 7, 1. And they each kind of like have their own kind of unique playstyle to them, for the most part. It can be a little jarring going for between certain speeds and weights here and there, but they each all fundamentally play the same. It's just certain times, certain weights and certain, I think it's based on the weights. They each have their own kind of like calculations, how fast they can get a mini turbo, and you know, that can greatly affect your game plan when it comes to these races. Kind of just like blazing through these maps at the moment, not really saying much about them. But yeah, for the most part, these maps begin like so far like are kind of just pretty simple. There's not too much to say about them. What you see is what you get. This map though is definitely a little more tricky, I'd say. This is one of the first maps where I feel like you kind of need to you get to reap the benefits of actually knowing how to drift store, and it really pays off. It can save you a ton of time. I'll show you what I mean during this lap here. I missed the boost panel. So you see the section coming up here. There's a jump coming up here, and if you were to not drift store off this and brake like I'm currently doing, you get a ton of airtime. And I mean a ton of airtime. And for the most part, you don't really want to have airtime in this game, as the more time you spend off the ground, the less time you have to accelerate. So it's usually not a good idea to take airtime. It's actually a shortcut over there to the left. It's an invincibility shortcut only, so you need the invincibility item to go in there. Well, that's not true. You can go in there, but you will suffer some spin out and a lot of off-road if you go in there without any kind of item that can give you invincibility. Alrighty. So Midnight Meadows here. Another map with a couple of track hazards. These ones are a little more invasive compared to the Misty Ruins ones, or Misty Maze rather, because these ones can appear basically anywhere in the road, and they're quite annoying. These apples, I mean, you want to do your best to avoid bumping into them, as they will do all sorts of things to you that you probably do not like. It's also this shortcut over here. It's pretty tricky to hit and not really beginner friendly, so don't be discouraged if you miss it a few times. Though I will say, missing the shortcut is pretty punishing considering it's right at the beginning of the track, and missing it means that you don't get an item. Like right here. This might be the first instance of the map itself only having like one item set for the most part. It's interesting. Alright, that's it. So this is a Twinkle Kart. It's actually a first instance of a sprint map, or a single lap map. I know it says 1 out of 3 at the bottom there, but that essentially just means each section of the map is divided into 3 sections, making for one big lap. So everything you see over here is just gonna be... it's gonna be completely different by the time you reach the end of the stage. There'll be no repeats. So that's the first section. We got these zippers. Pretty cool. Came directly from the game. It's basically like a pretty fun recreation of the original map in Sonic Adventure 1. It's a really fun idea. Oh, pretty big bonk. I'm gonna try something here, see if I get it. Nice. Nice little rainbow there. Pleasure Castle. This is also a pretty unforgiving map in general, simply because of these exploding barrels can be quite chaotic in multiplayer lobby. And in general, they're kind of a little bit annoying to dodge, weave between. If you do touch them, they will cause you to explode and make you forcibly drop your item. So any shoe you have in your inventory or any item, you will drop it. Now you can actually cause these things to explode without actually touching them, but it is a little bit risky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get close to one. It's going to turn red and it's going to blow up and it's not going to be there next lap. Pretty useful for like a run like this if you just don't want to worry about them at all. You can also just ignore them and just actually go in between them, which is the more safer strat. But for the most part, it's not too bad. This cut over here, actually, you can take without a sneaker. It's just easier to take with a sneaker. Just make sure you don't get caught in there. You will be stuck in there for a little bit. Alright, next up, Paradise Hill. This one's another pretty straightforward map. There's not a whole lot going on here. It's just kind of straight driving. Can charge a mini turbo here, come down here, get some pretty good extra speed going off that ramp. Another shortcut coming up over here as well. Though that is the last shortcut in the map, there is another skill shortcut that's not recommended to go for in most situations, and it's right here. It's kind of just against the wall on that U-turn. It's hard to explain without actually showing you though. It's like a tiny bit of off-road. I'm not gonna go for it because, well, I've already used my stew before even getting there, so. Just be careful of the little gap over here. Can actually fall in and die. Alright, so that's about it. Alright, next up, Sub-Zero Peak. Your first instance of a low traction track via ice. And low traction in this game is generally not fun. You'll see why here. Most of the time it tends to make your character go a lot wider than you want them to, like this. It's tighter. And it's very, very troublesome. It turns like this too. Now it's another instance of me mashing in order to get an item a lot sooner than usual. Again, the penalty doesn't really matter here since the only item I can actually pull is a sneaker. But in other situations where I would like get like a triple sneakers, I might just get one sneaker instead. And that could be pretty bad. There we go. So you can see why doing a drift store there would be a little more beneficial than just going off the ramp and trying to re-accelerate after landing. If they help with the boost, help the main turbo, you kind of just get back on your feet a lot sooner. Felt too much loss of speed. As this is the goal in racing games, to maintain speed. Nice. Alright, so since we are playing on the latest version of this map, there actually used to be a lot more powerful end of lap cut that's been patched out, or I guess blocked off. In previous versions you can go for this cut and it'd save you a ridiculous amount of time. I'm talking like over 10 seconds of time. It's actually right there on the bridge, the small bridge. But yeah, essentially, it was deemed a little too powerful for obvious reasons. So I think since 1.3, it's been patched out of the game. At least during multiplayer. I think you could still access this during time attack, which is the only real single player mode in this game. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to do in single player without the help of like mods or something. So you're kind of just stuck doing time trials. And what's cool about there is that you can actually stay in the water and the finish line extends all the way out, as you can see. So feel free to go for it, you'll get the finish line a lot sooner. There we go, haven't seen the rocket boost in a while. This is one of those instances. This is another one of those instances where, you know, having the I didn't make that. Having the what's it called? The drift store is quite useful. I am quite rusty on these maps. It's been a while since I played on these maps, to be honest. Kind of just hopped into the speedrun kind of blind in practice. Simply because these maps don't generally pop up in online play anymore. At least these versions of these maps. Not all of them are changed, but with the help of a certain modification called Kart Rev, a lot of these maps receive changes that make them a little more multiplayer friendly, I would say. Or at least attempt to balance them out a little better. So a lot of these versions you're going to be seeing today are most likely not in a lot of the more, I guess, like populated servers. Another reason they're not really in is because these tracks suffer from checkpoint abuse. And checkpoint abuse is quite a common thing on some of these bigger maps. Essentially what it is just like you just hit like a certain checkpoint on the map and the game kind of checks if you're supposed to be there or not. That's all it really is. But since you can go backwards in certain maps, you can abuse that system and get some really funky results. Actually win the race going backwards in some situations. Basically, without the checkpoint system, the game wouldn't even know if it should give you a lap or not. It functions basically the same way in the Mario Kart as well. This is Mega Block. Mega Block's pretty cool. It's got one really strong shortcut towards the end of the track here, coming up. The reason it's so strong is because there's no real way to catch the opponent who goes for this far into the lap. For the most part, you're kind of just sitting there watching them blast off. That's unfortunate. There's one thing I don't like too much is having end-up lap cuts so close to the finish line. For the most part, they're not really fun. That's just the main thing. Get some pretty cool lines here. Oh yeah, that shortcut there with the dark grass. That might be one of the first instances of really strong off-road type. I think there's like 3 types of off-roads in this game. There's the soft off-road, there's the regular off-road, and then there's the glue, as we call it. That one's like tough as nails. That once you get stuck in that one, you're kind of just you're sitting duck for a while. But yeah, we'll probably see a few more instances of the glue. Hopefully I don't get stuck in some, but you know, we'll see. Here's like regular off-road though here. I'm just gonna boost for it though. This is Canyon Rush. This is another sprint map. Or second mid sprint map, actually. And this one has 4 sections, so that's cool. It's also another infamous map to have, this is definitely like the premier map to have its checkpoints exploited. So over the patches, this map has been adjusted accordingly, and it's basically not possible to do it anymore, which I think is a good change. You can cut through there if you line yourself up properly. Pretty cool. Gotta hit that wall. This map is also known to give you some random airtime every now and then. If you go off one of the lips incorrectly. It's a little rough. It does happen. There are ways to circumvent it, or make it happen a little less, but sometimes it just happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Other than that, it's a pretty cool map. I like it. Alright, so Casino Resorts. Back to one of the more simpler maps. This is another 2-lapper. And, you know, it's basically just a straight drive. No real gimmicks here. Though I will say, one thing to watch out for is some of these floor panels, or plates. They have a tendency to send players into the air for a brief moment. That might not seem like a lot, but you'll see here on the final turn that it can result in you losing a drift. I'm talking about these ones right here on the ground. See, notice how I got a little bit of airtime there? So just be mindful. You can definitely mess up your timings on your drift and such. Other than that, it's just kind of a pretty basic map. You don't want to fall behind on this map because there actually is no shortcuts at all. There's alternate paths, but they're not shortcuts. And by alternate paths, I mean like final, like pinball-like section here. Like right here. There you go. That's it. Silver Cloud Island. So yeah, for the most part, most of these maps are going to be based around Sonic stuff, or just completely original stuff. It's another instance, or it's just going to be references to other games and whatnot. This one being a reference to Rivals of Aether, a platform fighter based around ancient animals and whatnot. It's got similar gameplay to like Melee and such, if you've ever seen Super Smash Bros. Before. Again, not too bad of a map to deal with. The shortcut here actually you can take without actually needing the sneaker, sort of like this. You just need to be able to charge up a mini turbo before the jump, and you'll be good to go. This is one of those instances where I actually decide to go for a rainbow, and it's pretty useful for the most part. They're rare, but you will see them. There's a few more in the run. And if you're worried you're not going to make that cut, you can just use the sneaker anyways. Nice. Alright, Blue Mountain. Another infamous map. For having some of the more... like, it's definitely one of the more trickier maps to front run in, simply because of the blue shell mechanic. Or the blue shell-like item in this game. The SPB. That in combination with the ice physics and these sharp turns make it a little bit tricky to navigate the map and not get hit by this game's version of the spiny shell, or the blue shell, for any Mario Kart fans. But unlike Mario Kart, the SPB actually functions in a way where I really wish Mario Kart kind of did it this way too. It was really fun. Basically what it does is it just follows you, and it can't actually hit you unless you slow down enough. So realistically, you can have the blue shell on you for the entire race, and as long as you drive good, then you're good to go. But it is a constant, it's a constant threat that's behind you. You have to keep in mind when making decisions about your lines and such, which I think adds another depth of complexity to the game. Because now you have to worry about that and, you know, your opponents trying to hit you. Because once they hit you, or you mess up, then take the full damage, and it is like a 5-second spin out, so you don't want to get hit by these things. It's a ton of time loss. You see me avoiding this jump here for the same reason why I mentioned a little ago. Airtime is generally not a good thing, so whenever I can, I try to avoid airtime. Unless, the only instance where I would not avoid airtime is when I'm going off of like a red spring. Because, like I mentioned before, red springs carry your momentum, and that's pretty useful in a game like this. So you want to actually go for the red springs in most situations, and you actually want to avoid yellow springs. You know, because they hold your momentum. Alrighty, so another 2-lapper here. It's a pretty big map. A lot of big straightaways and whatnot. The only real thing you have to worry about is these ball and chains here. So you can actually make it up here without the sneaker. If you do what I did there, and, you know, charge up a red mini turbo specifically. You can probably still make it to a blue, but it's a lot trickier. Also gotta go for this here. I'm gonna take a little bit of off-road, but it is gonna save me some time, because it's gonna equal less airtime. Like that. Another great instance where taking the full jump there is too much of a time loss, so if you have something like a sneaker to recover instantly, you can go for something like that. And it's quite powerful considering it's right at the end of the track. So make sure you take advantage of that. I'm gonna do this again, charge it up, release it roughly at the middle, and then you should be able to make it every time. So yeah, this is a speedrun, but I am not going to be going for like any major skips or anything like that. Like I mentioned before. Well, actually I didn't mention it before, but major skips basically usually involve the checkpoint abuse and whatnot, and we're not going to be doing checkpoint abuse in this run, so we're just going to go for dev-intended stuff and just some optimized routes. Missed my power boost there. If I got it, I would be able to have been able to take the shortcut there for free. We'll happen to have a sneaker. It's pretty powerful. But I'll take it this lap now. I think this is our first instance of a 5-lapper. Considering how short the track is. There we go. Should have done it like this before. Yeah, it's a really short track. This track is basically finished within a minute. Goes by real quick. And yeah, it is definitely a lot faster to skip that item jump and just go straight down the off-road. Because of course the airtime. But I guess if you want the item, then go for the item, I guess. But the map is so short that it doesn't really matter. And the item set's right over here. I'm gonna go for this cut here. Nice. This map also has the infamous history of major skips and whatnot. I think they finally patched it out, but this map was full of all kinds of wacky skips. Gonna hold on to this for a moment so I can chain this together here. Actually get through both of the shortcuts here. Pretty cool. I also didn't take the shortcut last lap, which is over here. You do skip out on the item set, but it's a lot faster to just come here anyways. So I'd say it's worth it more than 80% of the time. We'll do this again. The exit there can be a little bit tricky, so just be mindful. Nice. Alright, let's move on. Badlands. This track could be pretty punishing if you don't know what you're doing. And you decide you want to go for those shortcuts, and it's simply because of these guys coming up here. These robot worms. If you don't time your line correctly, you will bump into them. They are solid objects, and they will destroy your line. Okay, I'm gonna go for this again. Oh. I guess I have to use that. I didn't think I actually missed the boost panel. kind of just improvising, because it has been a long while since I played these maps normally. A lot of time when I play this game, and I join multiplayer servers, there's like a bunch of modded tracks and whatnot, so you don't really get a chance to really see a lot of the OG maps. And if you do, they're not normally in this form. I already mentioned that though. Alright. There's kind of a big difficulty spike in this level if you're used to playing the other maps. I might go for some fancy stuff here, but for the most part I'm just gonna play it safe. This map is pretty punishing. It's also got a multiplayer gimmick where if you hit those buttons, the boost panels will actually shut off. Completely not useful for you in this mode, considering you're by yourself, but you know, just mess around with your friends and whatnot. And other players, definitely go for it. Oh, I definitely messed that up. You know, I think I'm glad I didn't actually fall there, because that was a terrible line. The idea there was me to go off the ramp there and actually land the other side of the turn. But I think I learned my lesson, I'm not going to go for that again. Especially unpracticed. Just to maintain consistency. And one of those jumps where, or this is one of those jumps where I would recommend you slow down. These two jumps here. Since you're going so fast, you might as well just slow down so you don't take so much airtime. You have a little more control where you land. And like I said, jump time, kinda yucky. There you go. Alright, up next, Midnight Channel. This is based off the Persona 4 game. It's got a unique little filter here on the screen. Can be a little distracting, but for the most part it's okay. There's a shortcut. You can actually take this shortcut for free as well, if you use this. Is it faster? Not really. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm alive. I'm so used to playing the other version of this map. Completely forgot about that jump. Right. You know what, sure, let's go for it again. Just for fun. What I meant to do here is slow down a little bit. And then die. This is a brutal jump, I will say. there's a skill drift store in the base game, it's definitely one of that. It's definitely that jump there. Just save this sneaker for when I land. There you go. Vanilla Hotel. Definitely one of the more solid maps in this game. Not mean to go up there. Okay, there's some red springs here. If you're playing the red version of this map, those springs would not be there. And then you'd be extremely confused. But yeah, that cut's pretty powerful, especially it being at the end of the track there. So the red version decided to remove it altogether. At least the red springs. The shortcut, the ramp itself is still there. It's pretty fun getting in between the middle there of the toes. Alright, it's coming on the final stretch. One more jump. Would have been so tragic if I bumped there. I don't know, we're about like an hour into the run now. So roughly halfway now. It's pretty good. Ah yes, Toxic Palace. If you're going for like the time trial mode and you didn't really encounter too many difficulties when it came to fighting the Staff Ghost, this might be one of the first instances where you might struggle a bit. Because the Staff Ghost decides to really pick up the pace and give you a real challenge. It's actually pretty fun. I mean, there's not a whole lot to the map, it's just a bunch of, you know, wrecking balls in your way there. Oh, got bonk again. The hardest part is just kind of maneuvering around the cycle hazards here. Otherwise, it's a pretty easy drive. Oh. Oh, even worse. That's what happens when you get hit by cycle hazards. It's not pretty. I guess I won't be going for that again. I'm bonking walls and everything. Looks like I gotta go back and practice these maps. There we go. Good to go. Yes, you are, Amy. Just maybe not that race. Alright, Ancient Tomb. Another sprint map. This might actually be the last one, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. This is one of those maps where they really use the mechanic of the leader being in front and shortcuts opening up to them. You saw that shortcut open up for me there on the left after the leader hits a certain point. It's a bunch of secret shortcuts I open up. You'll know you encountered one when you see I guess like a pair of red statues, gargoyles or whatever. I'll point them out if I see them. Actually, there's one coming up right here on the right side in this turn. You see them there. It's actually an entrance to another shortcut. That trigger is right about here. Unfortunately, it's like the last cut in the track, technically. The other cuts on this map are not very useful or not very functional. So they end up coming a little too late, or they just don't function properly. So there's one here on the right. That one does not open up for a long time. Quite literally when whoever's in first passes the finish line, that's when like the shortcut opens up. So, there you go. Cloud Corrado. I'd say this is another technical map, considering how small it is and hazards are around. I would suggest you slow down a bit before hitting this jump. So you can get a better entry or line into the turn. There's really not a whole lot to the map itself, it's just a little tricky to navigate when there's a bunch of other drivers with you. That's how small it is. But other than like slowing down here, it's a pretty chill map. You'll probably fall here a lot during your first playthroughs, but it's to be expected. It's also home to one of the more egregious respawns in this initial 60 levels. Haven't really been mentioned at all, but like the music in this game is also fantastic, as you can hear. At least the music chosen for all these tracks and whatnot. I'm not entirely sure if they actually made any of these tracks at all, but regardless, some really good choices. Oops. A shortcut right here. That shortcut there is a little bit unresponsive sometimes, so there'll be a lot of instances where you either touch the boost panel or you touch the spring and you don't get enough speed, or you go way over. But yeah, if you want a technical map, this is definitely a technical map for a lot of players. It's definitely a test of mechanics of the game. At least if you want to maintain top speed and stay away from the pack. It's another one of those staff ghosts that might give you a really hard time. A lot of the cuts I'm going for may seem easy, the way I'm taking them, but they are pretty tricky. I'm gonna die here. Sort of like that. If you don't line yourself up properly, stuff like that can happen. Oh yeah, my recommendation for that last shortcut there is also just run into the shortcut first and then use your sneaker. You can use it before, but I find it's a lot more consistent to just do that. As you get a better exit. You may lose a little bit of time, but I much rather take a consistent exit than the potential going way too far and dying for it. There you go. Okay, one more time. And there you have it. Volcanic Valley. One of the best tracks in the game. Catachrome. Now this map adds a major visual overhaul before this version. Or like, you know, in older versions this map looked a lot different. But I guess the reason they went for this change is to address some of the visual disturbances of the original. I think it looks nice overall. Was it necessary? Maybe not. I do appreciate it though. I'm sure if you like type up a video of the Catachrome Void or something, you'll find like an older version, and that version is a lot more harder on the eyes. So just be careful. Not an easy watch. Both sides here actually have boost panels, so it doesn't matter which side you go on. It's just preference, left or right. There's also a chance for you to take some airtime in this section here, if the triangle's going up and down. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but if it does, well, I guess that's GG. You will take a lot of airtime if it happens though, unfortunately. Ooh, I was not expecting that. You know what I was expecting? I was expecting to actually get pushed up by the steam there. So I guess I drift preemptively. This is never one of those really tricky maps. It's not exactly easy to get a grasp on immediately. Still pretty fun though. It's all about timing your cycles. If you get the wrong cycle, you're most likely taking the hit. Oh, almost didn't make that. Kind of a rough start, but we kind of made up for it. Very nice. It's a pretty good run. Headquarters. Oh yeah, this version. I almost did the old version strat and went straight into the wall. This map is another one of those maps where it's like really tricky when it comes to just the turns because of how sudden they are. It also has a shortcut that's cycle base, and well, that's pretty annoying. Because you have to actually be there when the shortcut actually shows up in order to take it. Lead to a lot of frustrating moments. Oh, I bonked the wall there. There's a shortcut, and there it goes. It appears so quickly and disappears so quickly. It's almost like it's not there at all. Also, those jumps at the final section there, like the straightaway, would highly not recommend taking them. You're more than likely going to go sent flying into the death pit. Unless you take them directly head on, and even then, it's just faster to just go straight in the middle. It's the immense amount of airtime, as I keep mentioning over and over. Oh, I actually could have went for the shortcut that time. I didn't know if it was going to appear. Oh, I got that finally. You can do something like that though. It's pretty risky. If you mess it up, then you'll be sent flying, and you'll die anyways. Virtual highway. Simple layout, pretty solid. There are two alternate paths here. You can go bottom or you can go top. Generally, you just want to go top. There are some situations where down might be better for you, but for the most part, I think it's a little more beneficial for you to just go top path in basically every situation. There's a shortcut right here as well, but it saves a tiny bit of time. It only saves you a good amount of time if you execute it extremely well. And it's pretty hard considering how much space you have to work with there. So I'm more likely not going to go for it. Just so I can maintain consistency. It's another instance of the rainbow actually coming out to play. I'm gonna bonk this. Oh, I thought I was gonna bonk it. Alrighty. Final lap now. I let go of the boost too early. Should have went for the rainbow again. Very nice. Alright, and here's Eggman's Nightclub. Technically speaking, this is the final map in the original map pool. all the next maps are kind of just bonus maps, and community maps are added into the base game. I'm gonna die here. Oh, I made it. So yeah, next couple of maps you're gonna be seeing are basically just direct ports from the original games. And I'm sure you'll recognize a few of them if you play a certain kart racer. It's also a really cool map. Eggman's Light Club here. It's actually a secret shortcut towards the end of this map here that I have not practiced, so I'm not going to go for. It's pretty hard to get, honestly. You can actually make that cut without the sneaker. It is a little more tight, but it's possible. So yeah, if you don't know how to drift really well, you're gonna have a hard time on this map. I guarantee you. It's a drift heavy map. Twists and turns everywhere. Sweet. Got Chow Cup. There's really nothing to really say about this map. It's kind of just a big square. That's the whole extent of this map. It's a 5-lapper. Fun fact about this map. In the time trial mode, you basically, there's actually like, you know, a reason to actually do time trial. You get like medals, like a gold medal and like a silver medal for beating the fastest ghosts. The time trial for this map has you pit against Metal Sonic. I completely forgot to use my sneaker there. Metal Sonic is one of the fastest characters in the game, and since this map is just straightaways, he kind of just outpaces you after a while, so it's actually quite literally impossible to get the gold medal on this map with a character whose speed is below 4 actually. Below 4. The only exception being Gamma, and he has a snake. Gamma's actually a 1 speed. Or is he 2 speed? He might be one of those two. I think he's 1 speed. But yeah, that's a interesting little tidbit. So for example, Amy here, she's actually a 5 speed, so she's just barely able to beat the ghosts, and that's with like pretty optimal play. It's optimal you can get on that map, honestly. Mash here. Oh no, completely messed that up. So yeah, if you ever take on that Metal Sonic Ghost, just know that you actually cannot beat him with a speed below 5. Unfortunately. It's been so long since I've done this track, I actually don't remember how to approach that. I think you just have to approach it from the left side instead of the right side there. I'm gonna try the left side again. I don't know. I'll figure it out next time. Another Chow circuit, actually based off the I think it's actually based off the actual track from the games, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. At least it should be. This is the second and final version of the challenge tracks in this game. You don't actually need to go for all three of those boost panels, you can just go for the first and second one. Or first and last one, rather. Yes, that's actually an intended cut. As goofy as that looks. Turning around and going straight up the ramp. It's intended because the staff ghost himself actually did it. So, it is legal. Though I will say, if you do play this track on the red version, it's not there anymore, so you can't go for it. Basically invisible wall there. You'll know you're playing on the red version if you see the letter R beside the map on the characters, not the character selection screen, the map selection. Oh, got stuck there. That's also a pretty common thing to happen if you do hit those. Much like the apples, they will absolutely demolish your line. So we got cloud tops here. There's exactly one shortcut on this track. And it's the most powerful one. Okay, well technically there's two, but this one's kind of not beginner friendly. That one there. One traditional shortcut at least. Actually charge a rainbow right here if you wait long enough. Pretty useful. Let's go for this again. Cool. That hop there is a little harder than you think it is. But again, like with most things in this game, once you get it down, it's not too bad. That's what I mean. I'm gonna hold on to the sneaker because it's more important to get the rainbow here. Get for the off-road and then release your rainbow. Sure, let's go for it again. Yeah, I'll take 4 out of 5. It's pretty good. Rego Raceway. One of my personal favorites. Another map you probably never really see in the multiplayer lobby nowadays. This is also the map to have the also legendary saying of Regal Wall. It's basically like a invisible wall that prevents you from moving. It's kind of a weird phenomenon that happens in certain spots of this map. The first spot it usually happens is during this jump here, on this turn. As you enter this hill, there's a chance for your character to just be stuck in time for a good while. It just kind of happens. I'm sure there's an actual explanation as to why it happens, but you know, for the most part, it kind of just happens randomly. It can also happen over here in this water section, if you're not careful. But that's about it. the Riga wall does make its appearance in a fair bit of other maps in this game, mostly custom maps. But for the most part, it's not really something you gotta worry about. Balloon Panic. Not a map you really want to take seriously. It's kind of just a meme map. This track is known for having quite very powerful cuts, like this one. Skip over basically half the track just now. There's not really a whoops. Where am I? There's not really a way for you to really maintain a lead in this track without being passed like a few moments later because of how powerful these cuts are. It's a little goofy, it's funny. It's funny seeing the balloon stuff, but like, you know. There we go, that's what I meant to do before. But yeah, believe it or not, this is kind of just the optimal line to take. For the general routing you want to take, if you do have sneakers. Just boost here. Obviously you don't want to take airtime, if you can avoid it. And then take this balloon up here, and then boost again. That's about it. Otherwise, if you boost before the balloon, or, you know, or you don't use the balloon at all, you're going to be stuck in off-road. So we got Special Stage 3 from Sonic Mania. It's cool that it's here. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate well to a game like this, at least in its current state. It's a little too small, so it's rough. You can have up to a total of 15 players in a multiplayer server, and you can imagine having 15 players trying to squeeze by in such a tiny, narrow track like this. It's not really fun. Another map you'll never really see when you play online though, so don't really have to worry about it. But if you do see it, it's good to know where stuff is, right? That cut there at the end actually becomes a jump in the rev version, so do be careful. The jump is way more dangerous and usually not worth it. There's a lot of people around. Alrighty, that's about it. And here we have the Mario Kart tracks. We got almost said Peach's Garden. I mean, Peach's Garden is in this game, and it will be showing up in a bit. But this is Sky Garden. This one is from Mario Kart Super Circuit. It's also reappeared in Mario Kart DS. Pretty cool track. This track was also brought back for the new Mario Kart Deluxe in its Booster Pass DLC thing. But, you know, they really changed the layout completely, and I don't know, I don't quite like it anymore. I think the version they took was specifically from Mario Kart Tour. Yeah, it was. Anyways, not too tricky of a track. You can actually take this spring without actually needing, like, boosts like that. So that's pretty useful. Only in this version, though, not the rev version. That's it. And there's this Peach's Gardens. Originally on the... what's it called? DS version of Mario Kart DS. This came back in Mario Kart Wii, I believe. And it also just came out recently again in Mario Kart 8, so... it's surprisingly small. I just realized how small this version is. It's so cramped. Oh yeah, the multi-moles there, if they do pop up at your face there and they touch you, they will disable your ability to drift. So you want to get them off you. If that happens by wiggling the joystick back and forth. Otherwise, they're pretty harmless. And that's it. It's gonna be all Mario Kart tracks for the time being. We're actually almost done here. So we got Rainbow Road from Mario Kart Super Circuit. And this track is kind of a meme. You're kind of just always in a state of bouncing the entire race. So there's, you know, these laps go by extremely quickly, especially in like hard speed. So I'll give you the general line you have to take here. I know I'm not doing it quite properly, but you know, it's whatever. You'll still get some pretty good results if you take this kind of pathing. But everybody knows this pathing, so good luck. I mean, it's pretty fun first couple times, but it does get a little boring after a while. Alright, Donut Plains from the original Mario Kart. I was just not taking the actual shortcut in between the grass there, and just taking the one I just took. Slightly faster. That's about it. It's literally the whole track. It's very short. You're gonna have to mash though in order to get the first shortcut. It shouldn't be much of an issue at this point in the run. I'm sure you know how to do it. Alright, coming up in the last lap. Nice. So we got the Mario circuit now. Got some oil slicks to deal with. Not too troublesome. They're kind of out of the way. There's like two. I guess I do remember the line here. Oh, I messed it up. I say that. I jinxed myself. Let's go for it again. There we go. If you can land like that, it is faster. Nice. One more. We got Ghost Valley here. You can actually take the shortcut without actually using the sneaker. Like this. You just need to have enough speed going into it. And that's about it. It's that short of a track. It's a pretty solid line, but, you know, once you get the line... Oh! If you can get the line. It'll be fine. Smack can get pretty chaotic though, especially if a lot of people. It becomes virtually impossible to dodge items. If you find yourself not actually being able to hit that shortcut without the sneaker, it's probably because you're not doing the extra mini turbo that I'm doing there. It is necessary to maintain your speed, so make sure you do it. Alright, Bowser's Castle 3. Definitely one of the more harder tracks to get a grasp on. And home to the most amount of Yellow Springs in the map in the base game. These thwomps here will not activate until I complete the first lap. It's also a pretty cool cut you can do. That I'll be going for every lap. Because why not? Oh yeah, rule of thumb. If you're hopping on these Yellow Springs here, try not to land on top of these guys. They will send you in a direction you don't want, typically, causing you to do something like a wrong drift. Essentially being like a misinput of a drift. You just go in the opposite direction, basically. I'll go for this again. There you go. Another instance where the rainbow is actually pretty viable, especially in that section. Oh jeez. Hey, at least I made the jump. Okay, one more time. Okay. I mean, that works. I guess it sets us up easier. Sweet. 5 for 5. Vanilla Lake. Let's see if I remember this line. Almost got it. It's okay. That is, it's pretty common for people to get stuck in between these icicles here. But if you get it correctly, you look really cool doing it. Like this. So my recommendation for sneaker usage on this map is sometime after the mushroom, not the mushroom, the green pipe here. this first one, you should use it so you can actually make it cross here with a decent amount of speed. I should probably delay it a little bit longer past the pipe. Oh. That's what happens when you mess it up. Yeah, just delay it sometimes. Like here. And you should be able to just land instantly. You can also touch the finish line inside the water if you want to go for that kind of play, but you know, it's up to you. Probably should not went for that rainbow. Wasted a little too much time. So there is a cut over here, but personally I don't really like taking this cut in this version, as it leaves me without an item for a bit. And I can't take this cut afterwards at the end, so I'm gonna go for the line I normally go for next lap. Which is this one coming up. So I just go for this item set instead. And I can just smash and get the other one. If you're really fast, you can get 3. But yeah, it's pretty useful, especially for this last cut here. Saves a good amount of time. Something like that. Oh. And you can save just about the same amount of time by taking the shortcut. And still have a sneaker for this. Alright, let's go Temple. Back to the 2 lappers. You can skip this little bit of water here. Maybe a little more cleanly than I did it there, so you avoid doing something called a water skip. I think it happened a few times during the run. I think it happened on Chow Raceway. But yeah, another reason why you don't want airtime. Water skips are pretty bad. Water skips only really occur when you have enough speed touching the water, otherwise you will instantly just drop into the water and sink. Okay, let's see if we go for this again. Oh. Tried to skip over it, but I probably should just went for the boost panel, honestly. Also, this is the first map to be the community-based maps, so these are like maps that were made by other people, other than the original crew, and since ported into the original, map pool. There's about 5 of these things. So that just means we're on the last final tracks of this run, and that's gonna be about it. This is the next one here, Kart Airlines. Another sprint map. Pretty cool one, honestly. And go for something here. Cool. It's pretty tricky. Oh, I forgot that was there. Hold on to this for a second so I can chain it into the shortcut. And here's another instance where you don't want to... This is like another instance of glue. You saw there, how I instantly like lost all my speed. You don't want to be trapped in there. Glue is the strongest form of off-road. It's not fun to be in. Another cut, and that's about it. Also, I don't think I mentioned it yet. I think, yeah, it was Lake Margaret. Margaret was the first map out of the 5 here. I might have said the Costco Temple was the first one, but it's actually Lake that's before it. Because, you know, there's 5 of them. And I did mention that they were all made by other people, other than the team, but this one was made by the team. It was put in later, back into the pool. This was originally a custom map. So they replaced a different map in an older version of the game. So we won't get to see that map today. See all the pictures here in these carpet rooms. These are actually different custom tracks in the game, made by other people. It's pretty cool. Alright. Last lap. We're almost finished this journey here. And here comes the final map. Crimson Core. Get a really cool continuous drift there. These boost panels could be pretty tricky to hit as well, especially that last one. If you're not taking the appropriate line, you're not going to be able to hit that. And there you have it. 144 in game time. That was a long journey. Yeah, basically 2-hour video here. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Next time, I think I'm gonna do some more of this, but I'm gonna do like a variation where I do the hell maps. It's essentially what those are. They're kind of like old versions or like rejected maps for the original pool of maps in this game. There's a few of them. There's like about 10 of them. We could do a quick speedrun on those ones. It's gonna take too long. It's gonna be like 15-20 minutes. That's it. Not as big as this, all 60 tracks, but yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.